Okay. I want to do some introductions before we get started. My name is Tom Zawistowski, and I am the proud executive director of the Portage County Tea Party. A special thank you to the Geauga County Tea Party, who really carried the ball for us here, getting this facility set up. Peg Hunt, where are you? And Christy Hall, where are you guys? Raise your hand. Pastor Ernie Sanders is here, the new president, Pastor Ernie Sanders. We've also got with us Dana Adams, the head of the Summit County Tea Party. We've got Chuck Rockland and Nancy Rockland from the Lake County Living Area. Awesome. Don Sierra from the Cuyahoga Valley Republicans is not here. He really felt it was a problem because they had not yet done their endorsement process, but he definitely sent his good wishes. And if everybody's here from Cuyahoga Valley Republicans, thanks for coming. Really appreciate you guys being here. So thank you to everybody. All right, so let's get this show on the road. Welcome to the Second American Revolution, right? They stood up and they fought against tyranny and they fought against the chains of government interfering in their lives. And I always think about it, I'm sure you do today, what would they think about the NSA and the IRS and the Homeland Security, what they're doing to us, right? Wow. So, here we are today to defend the Constitution, to defend the Declaration of Independence. As you can see behind me, we've got our Declaration, we the people. Right? That's what we're here for, to take back control of our governance, because we have had our Declaration of Independence and our Constitution shredded by the people who are currently in our political environment. This Second American Revolution started right there. How many people know that's where this all started, folks? That's where this all started. And that's what this is all about. And ever since then, this has been a bitter path. This has been a tough road for us to hoe. For 5 years since that day, we've worked hard to try to help our nation, to try to fix our government. And unfortunately, at every step of the way, we've been betrayed. At every step of the way, the people that we thought were on our side did not stand for us, did not stand up on our side. And that's why we're here today, because we need to take back control of the electoral process, and we need to reestablish representative governance. Is that right? You will see on your chairs an article that I wrote that's a rebuttal to the media that's out there with this Republican establishment idea that, you Tea Party people just don't understand. You just don't understand. See, what we need to do is we need to stop fighting all these rhinos and just get behind them, because you can't change things unless you're in power. Have you heard that? Yeah. Okay. Well, how that worked out for us here in Ohio when we elected everyone from the dog catcher to the governor, and they're still jamming Medicaid down our throat, Common Core down our throat, and won't give us workplace freedom. Electing the establishment Republicans is not the answer, it's the problem. So after 5 years in the field, standing in the snow, getting signatures for ballot petitions, going door to door for candidates that we didn't really pick but were put upon us, doing everything we could do to help our country and being vilified every step of the way. What we now know is that we will never get the governance we seek until the people voting on policy at all levels are there to represent the people and are not bought and paid for by special interests. But they're not happy about that. They don't want us to do this. They want us to just go along, get along. We've been doing that for a long time. And so now there's this big war going on, inside the messy but mighty Republican plan to neutralize the Tea Party. They want to neutralize you. You going to be neutralized? No. No. And isn't it great that instead of having them say, well, you can vote for anyone you want as long as the people we choose that you can vote for, we can finally vote for someone we want, and that's Matt Lynch. So in this article, they talk about how we've got the Republican wing of the party basically saying, this is Steve LaTourette, he's saying that hopefully we're going to go out into 8 or 10 races and beat the snot out of the Tea Party. That's what Steve wants to do, okay? And in this one, the Gettysburg of God Civil War, John Boehner said that the conservative groups like Heritage Foundation and FreedomWorks are ridiculous and say that they have lost all credibility. Speaking of people who've lost credibility, let's talk about this guy here. Right? Who's that, folks? Steve LaTourette, right? Steve LaTourette. Where this Mother Jones magazine wrote an article saying labor unions are underwriting the Republican Party's civil war. Okay? And LaTourette's group aims to give political support and air cover to more moderate Republicans open to compromise in Congress, neutralizing the efforts of conservative scholars such as Club for Growth and getting Ted Cruz-style hardliners out of Congress. Okay? But here's the problem with this. He said his group plans to get into these 10 or 12 primaries with his Main Street partnership, but the money is coming from two unlikely sources. The International Union of Operating Engineers and the Labor International Union of North America. That's who's funding Main Street Partners, right? I would call those Democratic groups, wouldn't you? Right. I would say that's what's going on. But here's the problem. While Steve LaTourette is going to unions and Democrats to basically pretend he's a Republican and to elect Republicans who pretend to be Republicans, to elect more rhinos, we've got the Ohio Republican Party calling around the state saying that the Tea Party is trying to destroy the Republican Party. Right? Well, we're not trying to destroy the Republican Party. They've done a good enough job of destroying it themselves. Don't you think? Let us be clear. The Tea Party is going to restore the Republican Party to Republican values and principles. And this guy here has never been a Republican and has never been our side, and he is our enemy. And this fight is not just between Matt Lynch and Dave Joyce. This fight is between the establishment, rhino, crony capitalist, Republican establishment, and we the people who want governance that represents us. Let there be no mistake. This is a national battle. This is important to us locally because this is our congressman, and we're going to fight this fight. But this battle has huge national ramifications. But, Steve LaTourette likes to say, he said it to me, and on the back of this sheet, you'll see an interesting email exchange between Steve LaTourette and myself that took place over Christmas. They'll tell you all you need to know about who they are and who we are. All right? But here's all you had to know about Steve LaTourette. When Steve LaTourette went to Congress in 1995, all right, this is the guy who says we just need to compromise more, right? Our problem is we don't know how to get along in Washington. Well, in 1995, when Steve LaTourette went to Congress, our national debt was $4.9 trillion. When Steve LaTourette stepped down from Congress in 2013, it was 16.7. I think that's plenty enough compromise, don't you? I think that's plenty enough. I don't think we can afford any more compromise, Mr. LaTourette, so we don't need any of your candidates. What we need is a guy like Matt Lynch. Why do we need Matt Lynch? Well, we need Matt Lynch because Matt Lynch is one of those rare people that we found in this 5-year journey who really doesn't just talk the talk but walks the walk. Matt Lynch went to the Ohio House, and under extreme pressure, he did not give in to the governor and his henchmen. He stood against the governor's ever-increasing budgets. The Ohio State governor budget is up 23% since John Kasich became governor. That's not what I call conservative, folks. Right? But Matt Lynch went to the mat for us on Medicaid expansion. He fought it in the House. He fought at the controlling board, and he even signed the lawsuit to try to show that the controlling board move was illegal by the governor. And Matt Lynch stood his ground, and there's no doubt that he's a man of the people, and he's someone that we need to elect to represent us in Congress. So let me say this. I think you're all aware of the story, all right? It was no accident, because we've learned in 5 years there's no accidents in politics, are there? It's all inside backdoor deals, okay? Including when Dave Joyce got elected, all right, to replace Steve Latourette. That wasn't something we had a say in. That was a backroom, smoke-filled room door deal where they said Dave Joyce is going to replace Steve Latourette. But here's the reality, folks. The reality is that Steve Latourette's daughter, Sarah, moved from Kentucky to Geauga County, and her husband got a full-time job at the Ohio Republican Party, and she ran against Matt Lynch for Ohio House for one reason, and that was to punish you. That was to take the people who supported us, John Adams, John Becker, Christina Roedner, Ron Young, and Matt Lynch, and Ron Mag. Those people we held up and said, you represented us, thank you. What did they do? They're trying to take him out. Right? That's what they're doing. Take him out. So you think it's a coincidence that when the Ohio Republican Party Central Committee met, that they left John Becker and Ron Mag and Ron Hood off their endorsement list? Think that's an accident? No accidents, folks. There's no accidents. They're out to throw us out of the party because we threaten their power. We're out to throw them out of the party because they threaten our nation. So folks, it's really simple. And I'm saying simple, but I'm not using the word easy. But it's really simple. There's only one way to return to governance of the people, by the people, and for the people. And that's for the people to stand up and take back control of our electoral process by participating in it. Because what we've got today is pay to play. What we've got today is rich people on the left and the right. The unions, the environmental lobby, the gay lobby, the lawyers lobby on the left, and the crony capitalists on the right. And they've bought every one of these guys except for the people we've elected. And if that doesn't stop, we will never get the governance we seek. We will never see our country go back to the way we believe it can be. A strong, powerful nation that creates jobs and prosperity for its people. Because they're robbing us blind. So here's the deal. We don't want Matt Lynch to be taking $1 million checks from Steve Latourette. We can't have that. We can't have 5 people give a candidate $100,000 each, and if you're giving them $50 each, what does your $50 mean? Nothing. So we have to rise up as a people, and we have to get 10,000 people to give $50, not 5 people to give $100,000 each, in order to have our elected officials represent us. That's what we need. And then those of you who are in the business world, do you know what sweat equity is? Right. Sweat equity is when you're in business together and somebody has some money they're going to put in, but you have the idea and the energy and the effort to make it happen. And so your contribution to that company is your hard work. And that's how you beat money. Folks, this election is about sweat equity. If Matt Lynch is going to win, we are going to have to elect him because we don't want anybody else to elect him, but we the people. Right? And so, there's a lot of people who question us, who challenge us, and I find that very interesting because I think in the 5 years that we have been around working for our country, I don't recall us asking for any favors from anybody. Do you? No. Not a dime. Not a dime. Matter of fact, things we promote would actually hurt many of us. But we want to do it for our country because we understand economics and we understand what has to be done and what's right and wrong. So we're not just about words. We've never been about words. Your being here shows we're not about words. We're about actions. So I'm proud to say to you tonight that on Tuesday night of this week, on the 18th, the Portage County Tea Party in its monthly meeting voted by voice vote overwhelmingly, unanimous consent, to endorse Matt Lynch for Congress and for the Republican Party. All right, Matt Lynch. And so, now it is my pleasure to introduce someone who I just appreciate so much. He's a native of Northeast Ohio. He's a Browns fan to be all Browns fans. He's an Indians fan to be all Indians fans. He loves Northeast Ohio. And he represents an organization that loves us and loves our movement. He represents an organization that has been there from the beginning. And I have challenged many people who said they were with us, and most have failed the test. But not this organization, not FreedomWorks for America. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a warm welcome from Adam Brandon, Executive Director.
I just got to say thank you very much, Tom. I'm so inspired right now. I'm so excited. It's going to be almost impossible to stay on topic. So if I wander, just someone please get me back up. But thank you, Tom. But also thank you guys for showing up. I remember when we first started talking about this, getting in this race. He's like, "Oh, we'll have a crowd for you if you guys want to get in this race." And like, look at this crowd. I mean. I'm going to breeze through a few things because I definitely want to be able to take some questions. I want to talk about the FreedomWorks goals in this cycle, how we choose candidates, why we're here, why this, and I swear, Tom and I did not plan our speeches beforehand, but why this is of national importance. Usually when we endorse, we send out a press release. We brought a crew here. We brought the yard signs here. I mean, this is a very, very important race. And then I want to end with some questions and answers. So, first off, you guys excited? You ready? I am excited because as a Northeast Ohioan, I think the Indians are looking good coming out of spring training. The Browns have made some good moves, and we're going to upgrade a congressman. I often get asked is, what is FreedomWorks? And it's real simple. FreedomWorks is a service center for the grassroots. That's it. We don't walk around saying, you know what, we're going to get involved in a bunch of races. What happens is we hear from you guys. And Tom once, a few weeks ago, was like, are you guys endorsing in this Lynch race? And I'm like, well, we're definitely looking at it, man. We're definitely looking at it. It's like, we'll apologize ahead of time. We're going to start calling you guys. And sure enough, I'd be sitting there at my desk at C440, C330, at C440 again, and it's like 9:30 in the morning. So congratulations. If you guys bring that effort into this race, you're going to win. Yeah. When we looked at this election cycle as an institution, we made a few goals. Number one, protect and grow the House. And a lot of that also means being the majority of the majority. Mm-hmm. It's not our responsibility. It's not your responsibility to say, pull the GOP's fat out of the fire. But what we can do is to continue to build this majority within the majority. The next thing we want to do is similar, majority of the majority. We want to take the Senate this year. Far too many bills. And where possible, we want to upgrade. So this is where we get attacked for being Republican on Republican violence. No, we're actually saving the GOP. Yeah. Where is all the energy? The energy's coming from guys like Mike Lee. They're coming from guys like Ted Cruz and Rand Paul. That's where the energy is. The energy's not coming from Chris Christie. So let's take a look at where we can upgrade. All right. So when you sit around in the FreedomWorks office and you try and decide if we're going to get involved in a race, break it down to a few things. We get the policy guys in the room, and they go through and they look at past votes of both the candidate we're looking at and the candidate we're against. Then you also have to make a decision, does this person have a viable candidacy? Can they raise money? Can they do care and feeding of the grassroots? Do they have a ground game plan? What is their plan? Is it viable? Then you got to look at activist feedback. So let's go through that policy review, and I'm just going to we've got pages of this stuff. But when we took a look at Lynch, when he was looking at the benefits program for state of Ohio employees, he was taking some really hard, unpopular stands. The type of leadership that you need to fix the $17 trillion deficit. We took a look at how he fought Obamacare and Medicaid expansion against the GOP in too many instances. That means a lot, because that means when you get to Washington, who are you representing? You're representing leadership, or you're representing people in this room. Right. Then the final thing is he supports fundamental tax reform. Our tax system is so busted. This should be such an easy layup for anyone, yet it's so hard for when you interview people and they start saying, well, this is really important, this is really important. We have all these sacred cows and we can't touch them. So actually we're going to do nothing. No, Lynch wants to do fundamental tax reform. Then we looked at the other guy, and I just took a look at his scorecard. 50% with us as Republican? Wow. I looked over at Club for Growth, and he's like a 48. Heritage Action, he's a 50. Okay, this goes back to what I said earlier about an upgrade opportunity. Yeah. What else has he done? He's all four of these, and then we're talking about Joyce right now, to be clear. He's looking at some debt ceiling hikes here without offset spending cuts. Yeah. Hey, that debt ceiling, that number just keeps growing. We've been at this for 5 years, and there is some victory, but that number is, ultimately that's going to be when you see that debt start to come down, that's when we're really going to be winning. Yep. He voted against reining in the NSA. If we don't get that genie back in the bottle, what kind of weird future are we going to have as a country? And one thing, I don't know if you guys saw this, but we joined with Ken Cuccinelli and Rand Paul, and we're suing the NSA right now. I don't want to scare anyone, but some of the stuff I've learned is the way that a cell phone works. Like right now, this thing is pinging off of the local cell towers. So are yours. The NSA knows we're all in this room, pretty much.
It's okay.
Well, if I see a drone, I'm going to talk. All right, so that's when we look through the policy. Now let's get through the viable candidacy stuff, because this is the next. Okay, so he's good on the policy stuff. It's an upgrade. He's running one. When our guys talked with him, we were pretty confident he could run a campaign. Took care of that. But more important, we know he's close to the grassroots, because when you guys called us, you gave such a ringing endorsement of him as a man personally that if you're that close to the grassroots, we've got confidence you can run a campaign. But I'll also be very clear, something Tom said. Those are huge strengths, but we are the underdogs, and there's going to be so much money showered upon this race. And I've already started seeing when some of the press I've talked to beforehand, and some of the negatives of all the millions of dollars outside money we're going to drop. No. We don't have millions of dollars to drop on this race. We will drop tens of thousands potentially. And that's if you guys want it, and that's yard signs, and that's other things. But if it's going to come to a money race, it's not even going to be close. So activists, finally when we heard back from you guys, I think it was something crazy, like 97% of people on our email list wanted to get involved with Lynch. Okay, it's a little overwhelming. The statement was big. Plus, did I mention the 330 and 440 phone calls I got getting? So, and that, I just can't say this enough. We're doing this. You guys made it very clear you want us to be here in this race. So let me talk about it. Two more things, and I'd love to take a few questions, and that's this national significance. I do believe right here, and this is why I keep getting chills, is I do believe this is going to be one of those national races. When everyone says, is the grassroots Tea Party movement dead? This is one of those opportunities for us to show off that we are not, in fact, dead. Amen. If there is a win here on May 6th, well, first of all, if there's a win here on May 6th, we have to finish the job too. So we're here for the duration. So we get through May 6th, we're going to be here all the way through. You've heard a lot about the race up, with Simpson and Smith up in Idaho. I believe that this is going to start getting that national press coverage. I am hoping, because we're getting into this race, that other groups, and I'm leaning on them, they get in this race as well. And I think they want to. It's just the pictures of this, I think, are going to be pretty overwhelming for everyone. And we can make this a race of national importance. So I just wanted to say one of the main things that I learned last year in 2013, one of the reasons we're here, was I just didn't understand it. Why rolling back the sequester cuts was such a priority for people in D.C. It's like you're talking, they were dumb cuts out of a bad process, but they were what we got. That was the best we had. And there was this incredible amount of effort in Washington to undo these things and trying to figure out why. And then I realized the big loser in the sequester cuts was K Street, the lobbying firms. Because what happened, because this is a victory for you guys, you have made it so toxic for conservatives to deal in earmarks, they've kind of shut down the pipeline until further notice. But what did that do to K Street? Big problems. The money stopped flowing. Well, if you're in Congress, either as an elected guy, say from Northeast Ohio, and when you graduate from Congress, where do you go? You go to K Street. And you go trade, you become a lobbyist, and you're going to trade on your contacts. Your staffers go and trade on those contacts. So what you have is the best of bipartisanship. Republicans and Democrats come together to spend more money. But what you've done is you've taken that away from being a bipartisan thing. It's hard for Republicans to spend money. You've ground K Street to a halt. That is why they're going after their sequester cuts. That is why when we look around and we look at upgrade opportunities, we're looking for folks who are going to go to Washington and they're going to get there and they're not going to care what committee they're on. They're not going to care how much pork they could bring back because they know if they do those things, they lose your support and they're gone. What is a politician's main job? To get reelected. If you own their fear that if they do not hold the will, that they do not vote the way that you expect them to, because you're spending your Saturday afternoons not hanging out with your kids and golfing, you're spending your Saturday afternoons knocking on doors and wearing out your shoes, you better, they owe it to you. And so that's what we're doing. We're holding their feet to the fire. So K Street, man, they need those earmarks back. Steve Watt's right. He really needs those earmarks back. So that's why we are here. So I always hear this word, Republican moderate. What I've learned is Republican moderate is just code to bring back earmarks to get K Street flowing again. When I hear the term bipartisanship, too often, like I said before, bipartisanship is let's get together and spend more money. I would be the most bipartisan guy in the world if we get together and figure out how to spend less money. I think everyone is. We always hear this word about compromise. Look, compromise is something we do from the moment we get up in the morning until that's just going through life. But you can't. When the word compromise, when it fits that we have to compromise by giving up all of our principle and watch the debt continue to rise. That's not compromise. That's like hostage taking. That's how I feel a lot of times when I hear the fight over the debt ceiling. When you keep hearing how we were stopping everything, it was Harry Reid who was saying we're not going to negotiate on everything. And I was watching people like Mike Lee, Ted Cruz. They're coming up with solutions and they're pushing solutions. And Harry Reid's like, "Go pound salt." That's a compromise. So please, guys, only compromise when it's getting to our goals of reducing spending. Other than that, we're getting railroaded. So the final thing when I hear, we're also hear this other code word that we are the far right. So what are we? We're a group of people that come together and says the government should prioritize and not spend money it doesn't have. That right there, we are not the far right. We're the dead center of American politics.
That's right.
So I want to wrap wrap it up, and I keep seeing this gentleman sitting there with the USS Cod hat, and something I said I would get off a little bit. Man, I'm getting chills now. When I was a kid growing up, just around the corner, I remember all those summers sitting there with my uncles, and they would tell stories about World War II and everything. I would always think to myself, and I was meeting with some activists last night, and I said, damn, sometimes I just think what an awesome legacy we've inherited from guys like you. Thank you very much. Back to my script here. Okay. Look, FreedomWorks for America, the reason I'm here, we're endorsing Matt Lynch. So let me be clear now, because that's the fun part. Now the fun part's over. Because we're, like I said before, we're here because of you. You wanted us to be here. So now we put our reputation on the line, and we're going to go out into the press, and we're going to go out into the world, and we're going to sing the praises of the work that you guys are doing to make sure that we can try and get enough resources so that if you need more yard signs, we're going to have more yard signs. If you don't need them, we're not going to be providing them. We're going to give you as much as you guys can use. And we're going to back you up as far as we can go. But this is your race.
Yeah.
Ultimately, this is your race. This is your opportunity. And I tell you what, right now, if there's a victory, it's going to be written that the big money came in, it outspent you guys 10, 12 to 1, and you guys won. Why? You put up yard signs. You went door to door. Probably the most important thing you can do is talk to your neighbor. If you remember, last year you pulled your neighbor's car out of a snowbank and you helped them find their lost dog. They actually like you and respect you. Americans trust their neighbors. If they see that this race is important to you, it is going to do everything in the ballot box. And getting on those phones. So it's shoe leather politics. It's going door to door and it's phone banking. If you guys win, that's what's going to have happened. And this is going to show the power of that, of citizens being involved versus K Street money. So like I said, we are here. I'm going to end on this and hopefully take a few questions, but we're going to be here for you guys as much as we need it. And I am really excited for this fight. Thank you very much.
Anybody have any questions?
Yes, I have a question. I think we've all heard some great conservative and real American ideas we have to support. But I pray that our group does not ignore a main theme that has been ignored so far, and that is, in this election, it's also about the middle class.
Absolutely.
We have to have programs to perpetuate the middle class. If we do not do that, our country is really going to go down the drain. And it's the policies of our opponents that are destroying the middle class. Lack of jobs, higher taxes, etc., etc. And I hope you might address that issue using that term over and over again.
You know, actually, I'm going to quote Dennis Kucinich. I'm going to give you a quote that he said about this area that has always stuck with me. You know when you're driving up 77 and you're going down for a game and you go past the LTV mills and there's the flames coming out?
Yeah.
He called that Cleveland's pilot light.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Now, but let's look at the policies that they have pushed. Did you ever see what they burned to keep that pilot light going? It's black and it's in big piles.
Right, yeah.
You know, and I look at that and I just think to myself, what you talk about the middle class policies, we could talk about EPA.
Yeah.
We can talk about Obamacare. We can talk about all of these different things. Crony capitalists, when you're talking about fighting someone who's bought and paid for by K Street, we all know that where American policies are being directed to. It's those people who've got enough cash to hire the guys in the nice suits that are going to prowl Congress all day.
Yeah.
That's why this fight's so important, absolutely. And that's about strengthening the middle class. That's about what we're losing here in Northeast Ohio.
Right. Yes. Right.
Any other questions?
Yes, ma'am.
My question is about how does FreedomWorks get your funding? I'm supporting Matt with some monetary money. How can we help FreedomWorks?
Well, how do we stay funded? I don't sleep at night quite a lot. We do not have an endowment. Our board basically has given us the orders that we kill what we eat. Like, if we need to raise money, we can't start relying on huge chunks of money. And it's kind of when I say we're a service center, our goal is that we're providing with those services, and then you go put up 50 of these signs, and you're like, you know what, I know these things cost money, I'm going to chip back in 50 or $20. Half of our budget comes from increments under $50. We would not, and this is the other thing that we've learned, because if you know about FreedomWorks over the last 5 years, we've had a lot of changes. We used to be really small, we started growing, we had our own internal hostile takeover, and it was messy. And one thing that happened that you learn in all of that is the only reason we survived was on small dollar gifts. And small dollars are not necessarily small to people who are giving those 20 and that $50. But without that, we would be dead. Because if you write a big check, senators start calling you, saying things like, if you give to FreedomWorks, don't ever come to this office again.
Oh, really?
And it happens a lot. Well, let's see. Gee, we're kind of, where are we next week? Going down to Kentucky? We're taking on some big fights. We would be dead if it wasn't for the fact that during that same time period where people were getting intimidated out from donating to us, Grassroots America, we had over 90,000 donors last year. Our record number. And we're going to keep going. We're going to get that number up to 250,000 donors. And when we get there, we will be completely independent of anything in Washington. We could get involved in all these races like we do right now, but I could probably sleep a little better at night. So, and we have and when I'll say this, we 90% of all the money that we get goes directly into our programmatic work. And we got a Guide Star, top billing, 4 stars because of the amount. Our fundraising costs are about between 5 and 7%, which is, I think, the lowest in the industry right now. Why? Because when we ask for money, generally what happens is, like, you come and collect yard signs, and then you chip in some money on the back end. There's no cost for us. So that's the relationship. We always call it building a community.
Yeah. And that kind of sounds like what we're talking about, where we don't want big gifts. We want 10,000 people giving $50, right? Isn't that the model? That's why Freedom Works for America, isn't it? It's starting to make sense to all of us, isn't it? It's starting to make sense. And we've been through 5 years of a learning period, but we did learn. And we've learned who we can count on and who we can't count on. We know who our friends and who our enemies are. But most importantly, we've learned how to play the game. And we need people like FreedomWorks to be with us, and other organizations like Tea Party Patriots, Heritage Action, those people, because they can battle in D.C. They're the ones that can go on TV and defend us when they're trashing us. And this race is going to get a lot of national publicity. This is really a defining race, because when the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, when the Main Street Partners say they're trying, what did Mitch McConnell say last week in Kentucky, Adam? He said, we think that that's not one Tea Party candidate going to win in the country. That's what Mitch McConnell said last week. Our job is to prove him wrong, right? But talk to your friends and neighbors. Tell them what happened here and ask them to join you, because we're fighting to restore our representative republic and restore our own freedom and liberty. That's why you're in it, and that's why we're going to win it. Thanks for coming today, folks.